The Syntax of Things by Arisha. Chapter 41. To be a fool. Remil Devane. Harder. Severus focused on Potter's eyes and hardened his gaze. A tremor of magic shifted around his head, and his vision darkened just as a flash of Petunia's figure passed in front of his eyes. It faded out quickly. The barriers were solid again. Doing this without wands had been a bad idea, but necessary all the same. The close proximity in which they were standing left little to be done with his hands, so Severus clasped them together behind his back and used his will to break in. The intensity of their practice caused Potter's eyes to water. Thankfully, it was caused by the lack of blinking and not some dreadful new sentiment of injustice. What bothered Severus was that the boy was succeeding. He imagined the day Potter would finally master Occlumency, and no one would know or even suspect that it was thanks to Severus. Now why complain? Severus had lost his chance to be given credit when he decided to keep this a secret. An urge to slap Potter possessed him. This was the performance level he should have demonstrated since the beginning. This was what real concentration was. A hand rested against Severus's chest, and Potter bent his head forward. "This is making me dizzy." "It requires a strong mind, I'm afraid. Those who are not as lucky must work hard." "Right. You'd wish to stop?" "No." Potter looked up, and Severus bore in. Almost compulsively, Severus avoided the feelings that crushed against him every time Potter's resistance weakened momentarily. He took the path of memories poorly sketched into his mind and blurred with the passing of time. Childhood, he could deal with. Tom Riddle, easy. Anything else was not acceptable. He took the risk of shifting his eyes to Potter's fixed jaw, and the connection was lost. "You're tensing all your muscles. Push me out without suffering next time," Severus said dismissively as he walked past him and collapsed on the sofa. Potter, of course, followed. "You read minds like that all the time?" "No." Severus didn't hate his life that much. Minds of people who reveled in stagnation, who rejoiced in the dull routine of existence. Minds filled with inaction, muffled with unrealistic ideals, and drowned in impossible emotions, fueled by pure boredom and lack of confidence. Read them? What for? Who would willingly read a book written in gibberish? People's minds were not something he was interested in. Whatever people decided to spill out was hopefully enough. Legilimency is not a mind-reading spell. The mind has many layers, I've told you. Every thought of yours creates a dimension of its own. There is no fluency that can be read or shown in there. He pointed at Potter's head. Merely interpretations of complex nerve actions. Yes, but do you read your students' minds? All in all, the defiance Potter showed to education was phenomenal. No, that cannot be done. Potter seemed to consider it. The defensive mistrust he had developed over the last few years towards his betters was not unexpected. What was dumbfounding, however, was that the boy reserved what little faith he had left to put it in Severus, the latest adult promising to look after him in a long list of people who were now dead. Severus couldn't bring himself to shudder at the thought that he could be next. He spared himself a moment to acknowledge how mistaken he'd been to insist that Potter was arrogant. What he was far from that. Potter was reckless. Which has worse. But I don't understand. Trelawney can read people's intentions too. Isn't that a form of legitimacy? Because whatever she does, it works. Does it now? Sometimes. Divination is not a respectful profession, let alone talent. Sybil was unlucky. That was her only talent as far as Severus was concerned. Prophecies weren't made to be fulfilled. What people tended to do when explaining their actions as ones of fate was purely justification of deeds they could not stand to believe as their own. "Are you friends?" Potter asked suddenly. He opened his bag to take out his notebook. "Homework at midnight. Such a devoted student you are." "My day was a bit busy, in case you missed it. Quidditch, you know." Severus smirked. "Ah, yes, Hufflepuff won. I've heard." Potter scrunched his face in irritation, but didn't respond. Severus decided to push it a little, if only for his own amusement, but Potter stopped him. "You think people would hate me if they knew?" "Knew what?" asked Severus with a rush of panic. "That I'm..." Potter took a deep breath and went on confidently. "Gay." "Oh, afraid of losing popularity, aren't we?" Severus responded after a pause.
I don't think I can keep it a secret for much longer. It's suffocating me. When I'm out there, I feel like I can't even breathe sometimes."
There they were again, entwined in the ancient tale of pain and comfort, because it wasn't the inevitable that could break one's heart, no matter what the inevitable may be. It was that tug of familiarity that came with it, persistent and unrelenting. "You're here now," Severus said. "What?" "Very well, do make him feel safe with you, or even worse, comfortable." Potter fished a box of something out of his bag and opened it. It contained chocolates, and Potter shoved one in his mouth hungrily. Did it take so little effort for Severus to calm him down these days?
"You know," Potter said, "I've really tried to stay away. I mean, I know it's bothering you, my being here. But I think deep down you might like it too. You're so strict, right? You wouldn't let me be around you if you... Yeah. Want chocolate?"
Severus eyed him dangerously, but Potter's grin only widened. The hell with it. Severus reached out and took a chocolate from the box. It had fire whiskey in it, and for the life of his he couldn't remember when was the last time he tasted either.
"I'm obliged to train you,"
he said as an afterthought.
Potter snorted another chocolate in his hand. "Not anymore."
"Point taken. Brilliant." The box slid from Potter's lap to the cushions and stayed there between them.
"I could safely say," Severus drawled, "that your company is as mundane as people say." Potter rolled his eyes. "You could just admit it. You like me. I could tell. People say I'm boring."
Severus would have responded if a bizarre sense of drowsiness hadn't suddenly besieged him. He blinked his eyes into focus and rested back on the couch, deciding to stay there until he felt better.
"I'm not boring," Potter snapped. "Romilda Vane doesn't think so, at least."
Snape frowned.
"Vane?" "Uh-huh. Everyone knows how much she wants me. She always follows me around." Could it be because of your name or because of your wealth?" "It's because she likes me. It can happen, you know."
There were many desperate people in this world, undoubtedly.
"Fool yourself all you want. You don't stand a chance." "Why not?" asked Potter, suddenly flushed.
Why flushed? Severus tilted his head.
"Because you are nothing but another entitled Potter. The girl has brains. She's not for you." "I think I..."
Potter rubbed his flustered face with both hands. His glasses slipped down his nose, and Potter repositioned them sheepishly.
"I should ask her out, I think."
Severus grunted.
"She'll turn you down. She never... Romilda Vane takes her education seriously, unlike you." "But she's beautiful," Potter mumbled. "That's all I'm saying. I'd never noticed before. I never... noticed."
She was indeed possibly the prettiest in her class. He couldn't quite recall her face exactly, but he was certain of it.
"Please," Severus sneered. What is she to you? Another challenge, perhaps. An achievement to brag about to your filthy friends. If I see you near her, I'll destroy you." "I'm near her day and night, Snape," Potter said. "Same house and stuff. What are you gonna do, walk into our common room and just stand there so you can keep us apart with your enormous nose?"
Severus shut his eyes, trying and failing to snap out of his sluggishness. A part of him protested silently at Potter's insolence, insisting that at any other time it would have been infuriating. "How dare you?" he thought of saying.
"You will leave her alone,"
he said instead.
"You don't get to tell me what to do,"
Potter said. Severus leaned over him in a trice and grabbed him by the hair, twisting his fist cruelly.
"What the... Ow!"
Potter covered Severus's hand with his own, trying to free his hair from the tight grip.
"I will tell you what to do," he said dangerously. "And you will obey. You'll stay away from her. Say it." "You can't make me," Potter said weakly.
Severus twisted his fist again, and Potter hissed.
"Say it." "You have no right..." "Say it, Potter!" "Why?"
Potter uselessly pushed at Severus's unmoving fist on his scalp again, looking up at him with weary eyes.
"Why stay away?" "Because she's mine," said Severus before he could help it. He blinked at his own words, momentarily stunned at the mental slip.
Something didn't make sense, but he couldn't quite put his finger on it. He repeated his statement inwardly, looking for mishaps and errors. He didn't find any. Still, the suspicion that he was missing something essential bugged him for another long moment before it faded away.
"You," Potter whispered wide-eyed, "you're a professor. You can't..." I don't care. Severus released his grip on the boy and leaned back again, fighting the new wave of vertigo that had suddenly attacked him. Potter was going to stay out of this or he'd pay. Potters, always convinced that they deserve anything they want, full of themselves, thinking life owes them. What is your plan then? Are you going to pretend again, lie again, convince her that you're something you're not? Isn't this what Potters always do, alluring girls, taking advantage of them? You lost your mind, Snape. Manners! Severus roared, baring his teeth. I am responsible for the safety of my students, and if I see you around her, I'll make you regret the day you were born. Make me, Potter said indifferently. I will talk to her whenever I want, which is all the time, and I will ask her out. There is nothing you can do. I'll assist her, Severus decided, plans of confessing his love already taking form inside his head. Mentor her. She has so much to learn from me. You have nothing to offer her. Yeah, right. You're hopeless, breathed Potter, a foolish grin on his face as he slid lower on the couch. I'm the chosen one. People love me. You're just Snape.
Severus ignored him. At last he'd met a woman of elegance, a woman who knew how to charm a man.
Hey, I'm straight!
Potter broke into a giggle that ceased abruptly a few seconds later, and Severus couldn't help but wonder if the boy was drunk.
Thank God I'm straight. Consistent as always, Severus said under his breath. Then, he talked to her once, and I might make an announcement at the Great Hall the moment I hear about it. About a student named Kevin, perhaps, you filthy poof. No, you can't.
Severus thought hard about this. If he were to befriend the girl, it would have to be done carefully. He couldn't afford more mistakes in his career. Let Potter believe that he was free to do what he wanted. Severus would come up with his own plan, and this time he'd make sure to let the girl know that Potters were not to be trusted. She has a will of her own. She'll choose for herself. But what if she chooses neither? Potter asked. Severus rolled his head to look at Potter's reddened face. Their eyes met. And what if she chooses both? You will not turn her against me. Not this time. My chambers have already turned into a little love nest for you these days. Why not keep a door open for her too? Potter sighed. I don't know. She doesn't care, Severus decided. It's your name that does it, your fame. Do yourself a favor and stay away. Potter shook his head. I don't want to. Almost asleep, Severus adjusted himself and let his hand rest on his crotch. His fingers brushed his trapped cock softly. I'd give her everything, he decided, and you dare to believe you deserve such an angel. You think she'd like to marry me? Potter asked quietly. I'd like to marry her. I'd like to screw her, said Severus, and then marry her. He pulled at his belt with a heavy hand before realizing that unbuckling it in front of Potter would be a mistake. Still, he felt hot, and he exhaled hard as he adjusted himself again. I don't want you around once she says yes. I don't trust you. What are you? Potter lifted his head from the cushions, eyeing Severus's hand perplexedly, but abandoned whatever he was attempting to say and let his head fall back again. Beautiful. Your damn father made the same mistake. He's dead, Severus recalled. If you happen to repeat his faults, I will murder you myself. It's not a mistake. It's the rightest thing, Harry corrected. I'll have to be careful. Severus blinked into focus, but lost his concentration again. I'll keep her for detention, find some time alone. Then we'll see. That's not fair. I love her. You don't. You can't love. Can't I? Her hair is beautiful, Harry said. I think I love her as much as I love you. Severus sighed and looked away. I think I love her that much, too.